guys, DIY Animal Doctor here. So it looked like some of my potato plants might be suffering some early signs of blight. I'm not too certain because I've never planted potatoes before, but we've had literally nonstop rain for the past 2 weeks, which is crazy, and really humid temperatures in the upper 80s. And so it looks like some of my potato green leaf parts are dying back, and they have yellow leaves on them, and some of them have little like brown speckly patches on the leaves. So just to be safe, I'm going to go on ahead and I'm going to remove the dead parts, and hopefully if it is early blight or blight of any type, I will be able to stunt it before I have to harvest these potatoes. So I just want to show you here kind of what some of the damage looks like, kind of like that. I can't tell if it's from the flea beetles that I already had from their damage, or if this is from the blight. But you can see here, I mean, inside of the plants, see I've got some yellowing down there, and kind of just really nasty looking potato plants down here, and you can see like they're starting to wilt. It was worse yesterday because it literally rained nonstop yesterday. This whole spot of the potatoes was really up high like the rest of them. You could see I've got some spots that are kind of starting to wilt out here. So yeah, and some yellowing and whatnot. So I'm just gonna go ahead and just take out some of the green that doesn't look healthy. You can see here, here's like a little of that brown patch. I don't know if it's blight or if it's some other kind of fungal disease, but it's definitely something fungal that's potentially setting in just because of the humidity and the rain. When looking up how to treat potatoes and tomatoes and different plants with blight and fungal diseases, it recommends that always to wipe down your shears in between pruning different leaves with alcohol and a cotton ball, just to prevent it from spreading from your shears to your other parts of your plant. So I'm going to make sure I do that after every time I prune a part of the damaged part of the potato plant that could potentially be infected with the fungus. I've also noticed that in removing some of this growth that's been infected, some of it actually has like it looks like white powdery mildew on it, on some of the parts. So I definitely suspect that it's fungal, but hopefully I can get it under control before I have to harvest these too early. Well, I tried my best efforts on removing all the parts. They say, I read that if it's only about 25% of that affects your potato crops, about 25% of your potato crops, you should be able to be okay and pinch those parts off or prune those parts off, but they haven't flowered yet. These aren't due to be harvested until the end of June. I planted them, I don't know if y'all remember, in early April. I think it was around April 5th that I planted these, which I have a YouTube video on that if you're interested to watch that right here. On what I planted, which was Yukon golds. They were supposedly a resistant disease variety, but from what I've also read too, sometimes disease just takes hold. It more depends on your climate and how much rain you get and how hot it is and stuff like that. So I did cut off as much as I can. I think I'm going to go on and make a home solution and spray these potatoes down to give them a fighting chance. But with everything that I cut off and with the spray application, trying it once, if they don't bounce back from this, I think I'm gonna go on ahead and harvest them. I've heard once blight sets in, there's kind of a point of no return, especially if it's affected your potato plant all the way down at the base, which a lot of these were down at the base. So I obviously don't want the blight to affect my tubers because that's what I want to eat. So yeah. So here is the affected parts that I harvested off. You can see just a lot of it is dead, slimy, holes in it. There's brown spots on a lot of them. It definitely could be worse, but it's not great. I'm obviously not pleased about this. You can see it's affected a good portion of my potato plants, and this happened quick, guys. Like, this happened in 24 hours. Like 24 hours ago, these plants were up straight. They weren't affected by any of this. They were super healthy and they were growing super tall. And so this literally all happened over a 24-hour period of nonstop rain and humidity. It also says don't put the affected parts that you've pruned off in your compost, because it can affect that soil as well. The spores will live in it. It also says spores can live over winter in soil and on potato plants. So I'm not going to put this in my compost pile, and I'm certainly not going to put this in any soil that I'm going to use on potato plants in the future. So I'm just going to go on and dump this stuff over my fence line, so I can prevent that too. I've actually just gone and changed my mind. I'm just going to throw it right on my burn pile. That way there's no chance that this can affect any of my plants later on. I've also heard that potato blight can also affect your tomato plants if you plant them close to each other, or you plant them in the soil where the potatoes were that had blight, and vice versa with tomato plants. And I actually happened to just put tomato plants in the ground last week, which they're kind of having a hard time as well, picking up these pieces that I dropped, because it's been raining so much, and they're little small guys that I started from seed. And so I did notice that some of the bottom ones actually has little brown spots on the tomatoes, which I heard, pretty much blight with tomatoes is pretty much inevitable, at least a small amount of it on the lower parts of the plant. And that's why it's really important to prune out the bottom 6 to 8 inches of a tomato plant, just so they don't touch against the soil and they're not getting wet, and because they're prone to blight and different diseases and stuff like that. So I'm going to go on ahead here and prune out those bottom tomato leaves. I've been doing it a couple times now, but they've kind of just gotten away from me a little bit, and pull out the suckers because it's been raining crazy and everything's just growing super fast. Definitely don't want this stuff anywhere near. I'm going to be having other beds that I plan on putting in the ground here shortly, just in case they could infect other plants. I'm gonna pick all this stuff up and throw this in the fire pit as well. You also want to make sure after you go on and prune off all those affected pieces of the plant, the potato, the tomato, whatever plant, with a shear or pinching them off with your hands, that you go on and make sure you wash your hands and you clean down your shears with alcohol, because you don't want to be spreading this stuff to other plants that aren't affected by it. So I'm definitely going to go on and wash my hands in the house right now. So I'm making a solution in my sink right now, just baking soda. I used 2 teaspoons and 1 teaspoon of Dawn dish soap, so it sticks to the plants. And I'm also going to put some essential oils in it, ones that I know that are antifungal, like tea tree oil and oregano. And then I'm going to go on and spray the affected parts of the potato plant, and hopefully that will take care of it. So here's the essential oils I use, oregano and tea tree, and I'm going to add about 10 drops of each into my bottle and put a spray topper on it. If you're interested on the essential oils I use, you can always find information on that in this video description box. So I've got my spray top on my bottle. Make sure I shook it before I spray the plant, and I'm just going to go on and spray all the affected areas of my potato leaves that have been affected by this terrible stuff, and I pray that it will do what it needs to do and my potato plants will be able to recover. And it's unfortunate because spraying this stuff, even though it's natural and it's organic, I'm probably gonna lose some of my beneficial insects like ladybugs, to pollinate these plants, but they don't have flowers yet. And I guess it's just a risk that you have to take sometimes when you're suffering fungal diseases. Either lose all the potato plants or potentially lose some of the ladybugs. That's the dilemma here. Well, there you have it, guys. This is how I'm gonna tackle this early blight, and hopefully my potato plants will make some retrieval. I was just harvesting some more of the leaves off. I noticed, I can't tell if that's from flea beetle or what, but I don't know. So hopefully this will take care of it. I will keep you updated. A few takeaway points from all of this, I think, is if you're going to get a downpour, you're going to get a downpour. There's not really much you're going to do about it. I guess to prevent it, make sure that you put enough space between your plants so they can breathe. Make sure maybe to prune some of the lower leaves off so they're not touching the ground. And besides all of that, there's not really else much you can do to prevent this from happening, because when it comes to it, Mother Nature runs its course and it has a mind of its own. So until next time, y'all, If you'll have any ways or tips that you had prevented blight or you've used to treat it, I'd love to hear it below in the comments. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up, subscribe, and hit the notification bell to see my next uploaded video. Till next time, y'all. Bye. Callie, what are you doing? So you're the culprit, digging the yard up. I've been seeing like these random holes in the ground, and I didn't know who was the culprit, and now I know who the culprit is. Look how beautiful my comfrey plant is looking. Look at these beautiful flowers. They attract the most beautiful pollinators and honeybees and bees of all type. It's so pretty.